So we'll move on from that. And we're right on Lynch School and turn it over to Vivian.
Hello, everybody. Happy Monday.
If anything.
And let me share my screen. From the beginning. Oops. All right. Thank you, everybody. We have a quick update to provide for you guys in regards to where we are financially, as well as some of the milestones on the project. And we've got a little bit of a special treat, if you'll indulge me. So for the month of May, we have been very busy with a lot of the activities. I'm sure once you guys come on site, you will notice very much how much progress we have already made. We have completed, I'll actually turn it over to the next slide where you could read a little bit more closely. We've completed all the tie-in of the new water, sewer, and drain lines. These are the main lines, and now we're working on the branch lines to connect into the building, and those are in progress. We've also completed all of the footings and the foundations, and the PV footings are now in progress. So all of the footings and the foundations for the actual building have already been completed. We have also completed erecting the structural steel in area A and in area B, and I'll show you photos in the next slide of which are those areas. And we're working on completing area C. This is still in progress, but by the end of the week, which on Friday, we're planning on having our topping off celebration on June 14th at 2:30. We should be substantially complete with area C as well. We've been working and completed primary and secondary electrical duct banks on the site. All we're waiting for is Eversource and to have their electrical pole, the poles to complete in order to finalize the infrastructure. As far as some MSBA updates, we are still waiting to learn from the MSBA for the PFA bid documents, bid amendment. We have not received any correspondence regarding that, but they did pay us a visit at the end of May. On May 30th, they stayed roughly about 20-25 minutes. The initial portion was asking a few questions regarding our monthly reports that we submit to them on a monthly basis and just making sure we're still on track, as well as doing a site walkthrough. And they were very impressed with the progress we have made thus far. They will plan to have periodically site visits, and the next one is scheduled for July 25th of 2024. I'll pause for a second and see if there's any questions that I could answer for anybody before moving on to some of the images of the site. Not seeing any.
Nope.
Happy to return back if anybody comes up with any questions. So we wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what has been transpiring on site. This is the structural steel progress in the area A, I apologize, B and C area in these two images. And the footings and the foundation walls, which are 100% complete. We are working on the dam proofing and insulation of the foundations. Those are continuing throughout. And now, as you see, the building is really beginning to take shape. And this is the progress from the south side of the building looking north. And next item on our agenda was presenting change order number 2 for Bright Builders. All of these change orders or potential change orders have been reviewed by not only Hill Lero International, but as well as the TAPE team. And if you notice, some of them already have revisions. So we've gone back and forth and asked the contractor to make either revisions on pricing or clarifications. And I'll wait until we're ready to move to this one. But this is what I wanted to kind of highlight.
Vivian, can I ask you while we're watching this,
Yeah.
where where do we have exterior intumescent paint? Or maybe Chris Sharkey knows, that's a fireproof, was that like a fire code requirement that we just missed in the bid documents, or was there a design change? Would that be like a canopy or something?
Yeah, so that we had missed it. Sorry, we had missed it on the basically there's that B column next to the
Yeah.
gym for that canopy. And we had just missed it. Missed that note.
And does the entire length of that structure that's required? I mean, I've never
Yeah.
used it on the exterior before. It's always been an interior thing. So
Yeah, just that whole kind of roof assembly and support structure needs to be fireproofed.
Right, and mainly, Chris, please do interject as well, but mainly it's because that area is going to be an exposed structural steel membrane. So that is why for the intermittent paint.
right.
It's not going to be covered, it's going to be very visible.
Right, yeah, so, yeah. And we had to go with intumescent, I guess, just because it was so high off, like the exterior sprinklers were not a viable option, or maybe that was even more expensive.
Yeah, no, it's outside, so sprinklers are kind of a no-go typically out there if we can. So that's
Okay, thank you.
You want, Vivian, can we go back to that change order?
Of
again?
course.
And maybe you can run down and say what a owner versus,
Absolutely.
real quickly.
No, absolutely. I was just waiting for the video to end, and I will show that slide in particular. So all of these PCOs, which I mentioned, have been already vetted through the architectural team as well as the OPM team and have gone back and forth with the contractor. All of these are owner change order requirements. So I'll kind of give you a high level understanding of what each one of them are. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt. So PCO number 3, which was requested from DPW, which is outside of the limits of the scope of work, but it added a water gate valve at Horn Pond to control the water main line from outside of the school property. So the DPW wanted to be able to control the water within the property from outside of the property line. And they requested that we add a water gate valve at Horn Pond location. That came in at $6,426. Change order or potential change order number 4, revision 2, is the tree pruning and removal based off of RFP number 2. So that one was from the Conservation Commission, expressed concerns over the remaining trees that would be vulnerable and could potentially cause issues down the line, and asked for them to be removed. So additional landscaping will be going in those areas to help offset, and they're still being reviewed though. So that is not part of this change order. And the value of,
And
yes.
kind of jump in real quick. So I thought we were moving quick on the pruning and removal. But is this scope going to be included in the site civil package that's coming in a couple of weeks to you or Chris Sharkey, or this has already been handled separately?
separately.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. Number 5, which is revised water trench detail per ASI number 2. Again, this was driven more from the DPW engineering department requesting a revision from all sand mixture to a sand and stone mixture. This PCO only accounts for the cost of the labor. So there was no additional cost for the material, but this is for the labor. So since now you will be incorporating 2 separate materials versus 1. And this is for the entire site, not one area in specific, in the amount of $9,189.18. PCO number 9, revision 1, which are the kitchen revisions. That one, the health department had made some changes and requested adding a few hand sinks. So that is what this PCO is regarding in the amount of $21,348.49. PCO number 10 added service outlets at panel boards per RFI. These are in the electrical rooms. They didn't have convenience outlets, and the owner agreed to add 7 electrical outlets in the amount of $2,461.38. PCO number 12, revision 1, which we just answered a few questions regarding, is the exterior intermittent paint per the RFI 102, and this is for the fireproofing for those visible exposed structural members in the amount of $8,350.59, bringing the total for change order number 2 to $65,447.14. We're seeking approval tonight for change order number 2 to incorporate it as part of the construction documents.
Any questions for Vivian on these? I know they, Meg had just sent them out before the meeting, so I don't know if everyone had a chance to review them, but. Okay, thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
Okay. So that really is our discussion, question and answer also at the same time.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yep, and you hit the MSBA site visit recap.
Yep.
And so the bridge
Fine.
status, Meg kind of filled us in, and
Happy to give an update on
yeah,
the
can you touch
pedestrian
on that,
bridge.
Concon? Okay, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So originally, as part of the design documents, we had the pedestrian bridge incorporated. And based off of conversations with the Conservation Commission, as you guys are all aware, there were some changes made to the pedestrian bridge. And those design changes were incorporated by niche engineering and sent off to the Army Corps of Engineers. So the Army Corps of Engineers are still reviewing the permitted set, and we're seeking and waiting for their approval. In the meantime, Bray construction managers have also been provided the revised drawings, and we're waiting for them to provide us final cost before we present it to this committee for approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the
The-
bridge? No hands. All right,
The-
topping off, Vivian, you want to touch on that again?
Yeah, the topping off ceremony, we're very delighted and very excited about this one. I know it seems like it was just yesterday you guys were out there for the groundbreaking, but as you saw in the video clip and in the images, we're ready for topping off. And the plan is to have it on June 14th at 2:30 p.m. Again, we will be hosting it in the same location that we held the groundbreaking. So the entrance is from the rear of the project, where it's a little bit more safe to access, as well as, you know, there's more availability for parking for all those that wish to attend.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions on, nope. All right, moving on to
Sorry, what was the time?
landscape.
What was the
What's that?
time?
2:30.
10:30.
2.
2:30.
2:30. Okay,
Two.
thanks.
Yeah,
Hey,
you're
Frank-
welcome.
Frank is here. He's got his hand up.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks.
You're on
You're-
mute, Frank.
Frank, you just put yourself on mute.
That's because I've got too much technology going on, videos on computer, my audio is on my iPhone, so I can put these things in. Sorry about that. Thank you. Just to say that there will be no formal speaking program, so this will be a very super informal event. So not quite like the groundbreaking, but just in recognition of just the site, and we kind of, well, this is a big deal. We hope more kids come because they get to sign, and teachers get to sign the beam, so it's kind of a big deal that way. But just to make sure that people understand that kind of the same conditions as last time, not super accessible, parking in the neighborhood, in that location. So we are gonna kind of keep it informal. I did just talk to a representative of the MSBA before I got on this call, and he plans to be there, but is not looking to say anything. He doesn't just wants to, be there as part of the MSBA. So just to manage expectations, and we will be sending out some information to our community tomorrow.
And thank you, Frank. Matt Donovan from the MSBA, we have been in touch with him and he plans to attend.
Yes, that's who I talked to.
ceremony.
Yep. So
Excellent.
Yep. So confirmed.
Yay.
Hey,
Matt's the kind of guy that doesn't want to have any. He said,
No.
"Is this going to be informal? Because I'm not coming if it's formal." So
No,
he's excited.
he's very excited and does not look to speak on on behalf of MSBA, just wants to be there to support the community.
okay,
Is Brate planning on putting a tree up there, and are they doing that on Friday?
Yes, that's part of the ironworkers and that's their customary tradition going back many, many centuries. So that will be part of the plan in hoisting the final beam.
I mean, it would be kind of cool, Frank, if we could at least just describe to the kids why there's a tree there and, the history of it. So maybe we can figure out a short version they'll find interesting.
That would be great if anyone has any history on that.
I
Send to
might
me.
have one. I might have
Okay,
one and I'll
perfect.
share with you, Frank. Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay. Chris, you want to take over for TAP A landscape civil update?
Yeah, so we've been working kind of in the background on a landscape package in terms of, so with the few different items, one being some updates to the playgrounds, a porta potty enclosure down by the fields. We're going to widen the path kind of down to the fields from the school. Some of the planting plans. So there's some miscellaneous things kind of going on. We're kind of wrapping all of that up in the next, probably 2 or 3 weeks. Once we get a little bit more information, just from a couple different things in terms of property line, which might, I think, kind of change or add something to the planting plan potentially. But overall, we're kind of moving along with that package. I think there's been a really big lift on the playgrounds, which has been a really big and important thing. So that's going to be really exciting. Yeah, so we should see that coming up.
Okay, and Chris, questions on the site?
Well, can I just jump in and say, I think Meg was actually out there today. Meg is meeting with one of the abutters just to review where the property line is. Isn't that right, Chris? So an
Yes.
understanding of where the property line is, where the abutter would like to see the fence, and then we can figure out where we want to see the fence, and if it's moving significantly, meaning not towards the school, but further away
Correct.
from the school, that may have an impact on Warner Larson's approach, right? So
Yes. Yep.
So
Yeah.
Meg's doing her work in the field on that.
Thank you. Update on FF&E, Chris?
Yeah.
Before you do jump in, I do also want to make sure everybody understands that we had our kickoff meeting for FF&E. I believe it was on May 27th. So little progress, and that Chris will kind of walk you through that.
Yeah. So we had that meeting, and then tomorrow we are going to be at the Parkhurst for most of the day, starting at, I think, 7:30. So that'll be a fun one to talk furniture with the faculty. And so that's going to be, we're basically going to be rolling through the entire faculty and going through the plans and through the furniture and kind of talking to them about what they want, what their needs, wants, anything in between, right? So we'll be able to hit everyone on that. And so that kind of gets the ball rolling for us. And so we'll kind of take that over the summer and kind of really start trying to plan things out for the beginning of the fall, where we'll circle back with everyone, make sure that we heard everything correctly and we were able to kind of regurgitate that to everyone. And then we'll take the fall to kind of start piecing everything together, and by the first of the year, we'll start ordering furniture and get it in for the summer. So that's kind of generally the schedule on that. So we're excited to talk to everyone tomorrow. I think it'll be really good to get back in and talk to the faculty.
They are fired up and ready.
Fantastic.
Jay, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure, go right in.
Frank, since we have 2 different nursing suites in this building, is Jen Markham part of that process on furnishings and equipment?
Jen is not the director anymore. It's Lynn Vizella. So
Oh,
Lynn will be.
excuse
Yep.
me. Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Forgive me.
Lynn's
Yeah,
actually housed right there. So
good.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to signage again, Chris. Updates.
Yes. Let me share my screen real quick. So, we had talked about adding a school sign. I cannot screen share. Perfect. Awesome. So we had talked about adding a school sign that was a little, I guess, a little different than what was there already. And so Tape was tasked with kind of coming up with a few options. And so after a little bit of an internal review, this is kind of where we've landed for review and to discuss with you all. So up on the left, that is Brantwood, the corner of Brantwood, and then on the right is Hornbrook, just as kind of a place. So the yellow is the existing kind of spots that we had signs. And I think, for the most part, towards the Brantwood corner, we would probably propose keeping the sign generally in that spot. It's pretty far off of all the streets, so you're not going to really get a whole lot of snow. Plows kind of trying to jam into there. And then we'll work with Warner Larson to make sure that the planting plan around that kind of works with that area. So I think that kind of makes sense. And then the Hornbrook Pond side, the existing sign is kind of, on the other side of the stream, right? And so we would kind of, I think, propose bringing that onto the school grounds, and kind of putting it right next to the new pedestrian bridge, kind of sidewalk, so that when you get onto the site, you kind of look off and see it. And so again, we would talk to Warren Larson, make sure that, the siting in terms of dealing with some of the plantings and things like that would make sense. But generally, those are kind of the locations that we're thinking of. And then at the bottom, you can see that right now we've drawn out 3 different options. We've tried to keep them fairly simple, nothing too crazy, I would say. And so on the left here, this kind of top portion would be this phenolic panel, and all of these kind of materials kind of relate and kind of talk to the materials on the building. And so this would be phenolic, and then the base would be this calcium silicate, which is found on the building. And then these 2 other options, the masonry, that would be kind of wrapping here, and then along here would be potentially the brick. And again, the other 2 kind of portions to this would be phenolic. The lettering would probably be some type of stainless steel or something kind of lettering that's kind of on a hold offs. So it would kind of pull off the phenolic a little bit. And I think should have, yeah, this just gives you a couple blow ups. This is the first and second option. And
And the
then
discussions, Chris, earlier today was that probably the Pond Street side would not have an address, possibly the way to, and only keep the address on Brentwood's.
Yep. Yeah, so, you know, obviously they can be customized and changed and revised to whatever we need it to be. So these were just kind of initial thoughts. So I'd love to get some feedback.
Okay. Any comments from anyone so far? I know it's a lot to digest in a few minutes.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay, Brendan.
Thank you. If we're looking at the 3 sign options across the bottom from left to right, I think, at least for me personally, that middle sign is just very confusing, hard to read the address because it's vertical.
Yeah.
So I personally would rule that one out. And the next question would be called option A and option C, both similar, with the exception of the masonry or brick. By the looks of it, you know, one version is horizontal, one is vertical. I guess the question is the address, the actual address, 10 Brantwood Road, important? I think that would be important to discuss a little bit further. Probably get feedback from public safety to see if they have an opinion as to whether or not that would be important, and maybe school staff.
Mark, you want to comment?
Yeah. Chris, did you give any thought to how the sign actually turns the corner at the ends? Is it phenolic wrapping the ends, or is it actually planks of phenolic and then an intermediate like gasket material and then phenolic on the back side of the sign?
Yeah, I was imagining kind of a phenolic wrapping, kind of a real solid plane of phenolic.
You might want to look at actually doing, if the lettering stainless steel, doing something like allowing the phenolic to have an edge and then having an inset like stainless boundary so that the sign feels a little bit less chunky as an object.
Yeah.
But it would help to also see visualization with the signs in place, you know. That's always useful to see in context.
Okay, Chris?
Yes, I lean towards option A on the left. And what I like about it is I think you have a little flexibility there as you finalize kind of a preferred two locations on site. You can raise and lower that base material with a calcium silicate, right? You can add another course if you needed to adjust the height of the sign. I like that idea. It just gives you some flexibility. I mean, Brendan makes a really interesting point about whether we really need the full address. I know, Jay, you had made the observation recently that they SMMA kind of stylized the Skilling's address at the high school, but they didn't actually give you the street name, but they styled
Just the number.
I mean, it actually is. It's quite artful what SMMA did at the high school. I guess that's more of an inside joke for those of us in Winchester who know what that means. Anyway, I just follow the KISS rule. You know, keep it simple, stupid. I like the one on the left. I think it's pretty clean. Like the general approach, anyway.
Okay. Any other comments? I guess, Chris, you'll just finalize some items and bring it back, make some updates.
Yeah, I guess I mean, sounds like we'll focus in on option A.
Unless anyone else has any other
Let's-
comments, do we zoom in on A?
Superintendent has comments.
At the risk of everybody hating me, if you're going to be at lunch tomorrow, Chris, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to flop these up in front of staff just to get some feedback. Whether they have any strong preference or not, I wouldn't be surprised if they might, but it might be good just to have one more thing that they can weigh in on.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Moving on. Mock-up update? To you again,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, so the mock-up. So Brait has gotten the initial kind of I think metal stud and sheathing and the air vapor barrier up on the two kind of smaller mock-ups that we're gonna do. We're waiting on the windows to really start testing on those. So those mock-ups are primarily for performance, right? And so what we're looking for is making sure that the seals and everything around the windows are working properly. There's no air and water leakage anywhere. And so that's really what we're looking for on those. So that's the primary goal. So we're still waiting kind of on an ETA, I think, of when the windows will come for those mock-ups. They will be here sooner than the windows for the rest of the building. So that'll give us some time to really do the testing and make sure that we have all the details correct. And so that's kind of where we're at on that.
Okay. Any questions for Chris? All right. I don't know if no one has an issue, maybe we can bring up the manager's letter next. That way Vivian and Chris can take off while we hit the high school.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll try to pull that up just give me a minute.
Just in case there's any questions on I know that's, so Meg, the file was too big for me to send out. So Meg uploaded it to the Google Drive. It was just happened this afternoon, so I don't know if anyone's had a chance to go back and look at it. It's a lot of information to go through, but we are in the early stages of the rec, so we'll start to get a rhythm going soon of what's going on.
Can I
And
just
I
show
think-
everybody quickly though, Jay? So we've added a folder now. So when you go into the project drive, you'll find the usual module 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 folders you've seen before and a few others, but we just added a folder today called Manager's Letters. We open this up. This is the information Meg dropped in. So do you want me to open one of those up right now, Jay?
Sure.
Which one do you want me to open? Signed letter with invoices?
Yes.
Hopefully this works.
Yep.
Oh, Mark Scott has his hand raised, by the way.
All right. Go ahead, Mark.
Just a question for Vivian. I'm noticing on the cover sheet of your monthly presentation that we're diverging a little bit in terms of cash flow for the project. We're significantly below the anticipated value. Any indication of what that's from and when the project is going to be catching back up to the anticipated values?
We're actually thinking that it will start to catch up in the next few months. It was just a little bit of what they had originally projected in with the amount of actual staff on site, manpower on site. So for that reason, but otherwise there's no indication that their project is slowing down or any issues on site. It was just, they might have over projected at the beginning when I populated the cash flow and gave it to Meg for reference on what to anticipate. And we're just tracking against that one. It's a small departure from it. It's not as big as it really seems.
Okay. Yeah, they're both identical. So we have the monthly
And,
requisition. We have yeah, go ahead.
Just-
Go ahead, Vivian.
Sorry, Jay, I
Yeah.
don't mean to
No, go
interrupt you,
ahead.
but I think as you'll start to see that the requisitions are gonna start getting larger in size as well as just megabytes of transferring the information, as well as all of the additional invoices with the various subcontractors and vendors that come on board. And thinking that utilizing the website and transferring the information this way will be easier than trying to email it out to everybody. Because even if you compress the file, it's still fairly large and won't be able to transmit.
Right. And then it's there to go back and reference if we want to too. It's a good file.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Jay, do you want to pick these off separately? Do you want a motion first on the change order?
The change order,
I can-
Number 2 that we reviewed.
So I'm happy to make a motion to approve spending authorization to Bright Builders for change order number 2 in the amount of $65,400 $447.14, which I'm assuming matches Vivian's presentation a few minutes ago, as Vivian presented it to us tonight.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Brendan. All right, roll call vote. Frank?
But Jay, Mark has his hand up still. Oh, never mind. He just,
Well, I just wanted to say on page 2, it's called change order number 1, so we should just make that edit to fix that for the record. On the second page from Meg.
Oh, yep. I do notice that. It is change order number 2.
Yeah, it's correct on the
Okay.
first page. It's just
Yeah.
called, so
That's strange. They typed it twice.
No.
Yeah,
good catch.
yeah, thank you, Mark. Okay, Frank,
Aye.
Lisa,
Yes.
Todd is not on, Geether is not on. John?
Yes.
Okay, Colleen,
Yes.
Mark? Okay, Richard,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Emily.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all set.
Thank you, everyone.
we have a value for the Hill invoice.
Unfortunately, we're waiting on a sub-consultant invoice to incorporate as part of ours. They were not ready, so we did not submit our Hill Lero invoice for this month or previous month. We will do so in the next meeting.
Okay.
I didn't want to submit it without theirs incorporated and figured we could wait a little bit to get it in.
So you want a motion, Jay?
Sure.
All right, so I make a motion to approve payment to Bright Builders, application number 6, in the amount of $2,888,524.32. That's submitted. Triumph Modular invoice 15187 in the amount of $29,850 is submitted. Tape Architects invoice 240502, $254,662.75 is submitted. Crescio Trucking Corporation invoice 07072346 for $950. Harbor Networks invoice 312364, $430.53. And EarthCam invoice, I'm not reading all that, ends in 2788 in the amount of $100.31 as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Mark. All right. Roll call. Frank?
Aye.
All right, Lisa,
Yes.
Brendan,
Aye.
John,
Yes.
Colleen,
Aye.
Richard,
Yes.
Don, and Emily will go back.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And Don, yes.
Don.
Yeah, it was Don. Sorry.
Right, Emily?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so unless anyone has any questions for Tape or Vivian, we'll let them go as we jump over to the high school. I don't see any. Okay,
All
thank
right.
you, Chris. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Have a wonderful night, and we hope to
Okay.
see you at the steel topping off. So see you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
We're trying to keep the high school on the second night of the week, just to not spin Tape's time, but we got a lot going on right now and some updates. So Meg is not on the gymnasium project update, but Chris, do you have an can you
Yeah,
bring us up to
I
speed?
I apologize, Jay. I didn't have time to put together a slide for this tonight, but folks, this is on page 4 of the school building capital projects update. We went to the school committee, I think on May 28th. I think Jay forwarded this to the committee a couple of days after, so I think you all got this last week. This is really a quick summary. Our working group is meeting with Chris Blesson every week on Friday. He was out to the high school gym with some engineers last week. These are the key dates. We've got project advertisement June 20th. Bid documents will be available a week later. We have an on-site pre-bid conference scheduled for July 11th. We have a sub-bid date and a general contractor bid opening July 25th to get somebody on board in August. So we're moving. Chris is in contact with WinCam that has some particular needs in terms of tell data, because of course they broadcast our athletic contests and also special events inside the gym. And our town clerk, Mary Ellen Land, is also gathering some information for Chris in terms of what she needs for power and location of power so we can run elections. So we're moving, and it's going pretty quickly. It's exciting. That's all I had on that, Jay. I don't know if there are any questions.
I don't see any.
Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition to the high school concrete piece. And I have 3 slides that I wanted to share. Let's see if I can launch. Probably won't be able. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I don't know, maybe 2 hours ago at the most, I forwarded to everybody a copy of the proposal. It's dated June 4th from SGH. So from our last meeting with Jenny Grubb, you guys will recall, they had put out different options for us. One of them was to construct what they call a mock-up, which was to identify some areas at the high school underneath that first floor slab where they could apply a surface applied corrosion inhibitor, wait 30 days, see how it's absorbed by the concrete, do some core samples, take it back to the lab, and if in fact they find that it's being absorbed at the right depth and at the right rate, they have a very high degree of confidence that this would be an effective means of corrosion inhibitor, right, for the high school. So we asked them to go back and put together a proposal. You guys have that letter in detail. So what they have proposed for us is to put together some drawings and specs for that. They've identified 2 areas at the high school. I think one under one wing, one under another. They're about 100 square feet each. They would be power washed, and a contractor would come in and apply 2 different products. You see it there on the screen. They would then measure the depth of the reinforcement at 6 locations. I think she means depth of penetration, but we would get 6 core samples. They would be there to observe this the power washing and the application of the product. Come back 30 days later, we get the cores, they go to the lab, they get analyzed, and then SGH would prepare a memo of findings for us. They broke down their costs, their design spec, observation costs, and reviewing in their office the lab results. It's a little under $9,000. And the contractor cost to actually do the work is a little over $27,000. There is a third-party cost for the actual lab testing, not cheap, and it comes in at just under $45,000. Meg had asked that rather than us try to go out separately and procure the actual contracting, that is the actual installation of the corrosion inhibitor, that we do it all underneath, in SGH's contract. So they were happy to do that. So that's why that's included there at 27.4. So that is a proposal they've put forward. And if we were to move forward on this, they would get going very quickly. And we have the real potential before summer's end to know if this is going to be an effective way to slow or stop corrosion of the concrete. If we have interest in moving forward on this, in terms of where the money will come from, Meg confirmed for us this week, we have about $21,000 left in the existing SGH appropriation. She had conversations with management and with our comptroller last week. They feel that the nature of this work makes it eligible for us to pay for it with some of our existing Winchester High School construction project funds. Meg did tell us there's an increasingly small number of things for which those funds would really ever be appropriate. So we're getting pretty close to a point where we're just going to need to turn those funds back to the town. But they did feel like this was appropriate. So we have a funding source for the work. And I did put forward a motion that Meg has reviewed and and she's okay with if we wish to proceed. The only other comment I would just make, I know I heard from a couple of members after Jenny's last presentation to us, there may have been some confusion on this, although Chris Conway and others at DPW have not really been able to they personally physically have not gotten into the majority of the crawl space at the high school. SGH actually got into a little over 90% of the crawl space. And that is reflected in their initial report that came to us back in September. So this is why in Jenny's presentation to us at the last meeting, there was a line item for the corrosion inhibitor applied, and I think she called them the accessible spaces. And then there was a much smaller line item for what they call inaccessible spaces, in case there's a contractor who can, I don't know, spelunk their way into a peculiar space and do the work. But she did assure us they've gotten their eyeballs on the vast majority of the space and feel like it is at least 90% is accessible to get the work done. So, Jay, you have to fill in if I left anything out because I know Meg's not with us. Meg, by the way, she's at a hearing on Leonard and McDonald Field tonight. So she wound up double booked. That's why she's not here. I think it would be really important for us to proceed on this. My sense from the committee last time was it's important to know if the surface applied corrosion inhibitor would be effective. If it's not, it cuts off that option entirely. If it is, then we can get serious about the scope of that, whether we wanted to do that to, the entirety of the underslab that we can get to, or do we want to identify some priority areas and so forth.
Anyone questions for Chris? Brendan, you probably have to get brought up to speed on the whole thing that's going on. But the school's not falling down anyways.
Yeah, no, I on the last call, I got a little bit of it. We're having some issues with the flooring,
Yeah.
and moisture is causing again some flooring failure. And this is part of the solution to it,
Right.
hopefully. Okay.
Exactly. Okay.
I
Anyone
was
got any
thrilled to see the high
questions?
school on the list of subjects after all that work.
Right. Yep. Okay, if no one's got any questions, anyone want to we need a motion and then get going.
I'll make the motion because I think I think we need to do it. And it's good, and it looks like it's not that expensive.
Agree.
So Lisa, I have a motion for you on the screen if you want to read it. And now Lisa's on mute. How about I read the motion and Lisa can second?
That
Okay.
would be good. That would be good, Chris, because I'm afraid the parrot's going to start screaming as I read it. So
You should teach the parrot how to make motions. That can be reflected in the minutes. Okay. I moved to authorize Meg White on behalf of the Engineering and Planning Department to execute a contract with SGH in the amount of $44,900. Actually, excuse me, I'm going to round that up. In the amount of $45,000 for design, specifications, concrete testing, and analysis at Winchester High School per the SGH proposal of June 4th. Said project shall be funded from the balance of SGH appropriation plus $24,000 from the Winchester High School construction project balance.
Hey, Lisa,
I make the motion. Thanks, Chris.
second. Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
Thank you,
second it.
Lisa.
Thank you. However,
Okay, Frank?
Aye.
All right, Lisa, we have Brendan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Mark? I think you're on mute, Mark. You're set.
Wasn't, I said aye.
Oh, I didn't
Sorry.
hear, sorry. Richard,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Emily?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
We'll keep everybody posted.
All right, we already did the payment letters. So before we go to next meetings, Colleen had an item that came up. It's kind of new business. It has to
Yep.
do with Eversource. I talked to Ken today. He did confirm that it can wait for the next meeting so we can get
Yep.
information out to everyone. Maybe in a couple briefs, Colleen, you can let everyone know what it's about and
Sure.
get some information out.
Yep, that sounds good. So I think everyone knows that we're participating in Eversource Path 1 Zero Net Energy Performance Incentive Program. So the way that the program works is there's 2 distributions, essentially, of funds. One in the post design, and then the other in the post verification. And so the we solicited, or Ken did, and Meg, a proposal from Element Lalek to essentially be the verifier of the EUI performance for the first 12 months. So it involves, a handful of things, but just reviewing the control sequences, the energy use demand for the entire building, making sure, if there's any discrepancies between that and the energy model, like trying to sort those out to see if it's a occupant use piece or if there's something going on with systems. It's sort of like a post commissioning piece, but we need to do it anyway to be able to qualify for that additional incentive. So there's a proposal from Enel and Lalek. Ken and I both thought that it was a little bit high. So I'm part of another project that's doing the same performance path. So I think we're going to ask potentially for another proposal, maybe 2, just to be able to sort out, perhaps this is sort of within reason, but we thought it would be good for the town to at least have one other bid. So that's that piece. So we don't have a second proposal yet. We just got the proposal from Enel and Lalek this morning. So we will push that to the next meeting, but that's what we'll eventually talk about.
Colleen, what's the chances of having that second proposal by the next meeting so we can really wrap it up? Think pretty good.
Well, so I reached out to the architecture team today for the project that I have in Cambridge to see who's doing it, and then also just get a sense of, if they're within the same, that project's quite a bit larger, but if that's within reason, the scope that we have for Element Lalek, then I wouldn't want to push this off too far, but it sounded like the utility folks said that it was not an emergency for us to get this tied up right away. So I'm hoping. I just reached out to the architects a couple hours ago, though. So
Okay.
Hopefully I'll know something by Thursday.
More information to come, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Colleen.
Yeah, no problem.
Any questions for Colleen?
I would just throw out there when, this reminds me when we talk about how we get to net zero. It's how much energy did the systems use and what were our assumptions going in. Colleen, I don't know if energy management has factored this in yet, but are you aware we have just voted to extend the school day by 10 minutes next year?
I am aware of that.
So,
yeah.
Little changes, but over an entire school year. So it all may make a little bit of a difference.
So do we have to add more solar panels now?
This will be such a beautiful building and healthy, and everyone will be so excited to use it that it will be used more than we're probably anticipating, right? So that's just the way it goes. It is good. I mean, the thing is, I'm not advocating for Enel and Lalek or anyone in particular, but their, energy models in my opinion, are not a science. So you make certain predictions and assumptions, and then how it's actually being used to something else. It is a little bit helpful for Enel and Lalek to be a partner in this because they're a partner in the design side for us. So we're not having a total third party come in and be like, you're not meeting in the EUI targets. Like, I think they would work with us a little bit to sort of figure out where the discrepancies were. So yeah, but yes, I agree with you, Chris. There's generally the theme of why things are off on the energy modeling predictions are either occupancy use or plug-in loads. So folks bring in extra stuff, teachers, whatnot, and those are things unanticipated.
We can shut the power off.
There you go.
Well, that
Just for those
happens
10
already
minutes, if
by
that
code.
helps.
Half the outlets get shut
Okay,
off at
all right.
night anyway.
Okay, perfect. Be good for kids and teachers not to have any electronics or technology for 10 minutes. So let us know what we can do.
Okay, next meetings, we have June 17th And then we're looking, working with Meg today for her invoices and her working around her time off. We're looking at July 8th and July 22nd. So we'll discuss it again on the 17th, but that's what we're thinking anyways. And anything else?
I was just gonna ask, are there a large number of EFPBC members that are gonna be away on July 8th or July 22nd? So we're kind of looking for some feedback from folks if those dates generally are okay.
Both work for me. I will not be able to attend the meeting on June 17th.
I'll be around.
And I'm out on the 8th. July 8th.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Hopefully, well, if not by July 8th, certainly by July 22nd, we should have the revised PFA number from the MSBA. They said they needed 140 days, and I believe that was actually today.
Yeah.
I think today was 140 days.
You should send them a note, remind them that.
Who's counting?
All right. If anyone, no one has anything else, we'll get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So
Second it.
All right. Mark and Lisa. Okay, Frank,
aye.
yes, we have Brendan,
Aye.
Keith is not on, John,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Chris,
Bye.
Richard,
Aye.
Don,
Yes.
and Emily.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
guys.
See you on the
Good night.
17th.
Thank
Or
you.
If you can
Night.
make it Friday, it'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, see you there.